it's Ruby again. So I had Valentine chapter 4 and chapter 5 looking at the inequalities of race and gender. Chapter 4 more specifically focuses on race, chapter 5 more on gender. Valentine does suggest that schools operate under the same sort of social hierarchy or social structure as society. So people who are given the same equalities and inequalities are given that are given in society are given in schools. Looking specifically at race, you can see in the 20th century, in those 1900s, where there were black only schools, students were treated differently. Those schools were often overfilled, underfunded, and they were often reflected, right, society. There's a quote from the National Museum of American History and Culture. They state that schools were, quote, were inaccessible by public transportation, forcing students to walk long distances year-round. Classrooms were poorly resourced without enough desks for every child, and the few books students had were tattered hand-me-downs from white schools. Black teachers were paid only a fraction of the salary of their white counterparts, end quote. This is sort of adding to that suggestion that school reflects society, and at that point in time in society, things were separate. The world was divided. And I think this goes without saying, but I'm going to say it. This is just a terrible way to look at education. To look at education as the way society does. Everybody needs to be taught. Everybody needs to learn. Everybody should be able to grow and learn and get the level of education that they wish to obtain. So to not give every single student every single thing that you possibly can in the best possible way you can do it is just unfortunate. So, luckily, hopefully, I don't know, schools run a little bit differently than they did back then, but it is something that we see, that schools in the past did reflect society, the good and the bad parts. When we look at chapter 5 of Valentine, he looks at gender, specifically, and the gender differences between man and woman early on in education. They were marked by social structures, right? Similar to the race inequalities in the sense of marked by social structures. Men and women were seen as differently, right? Men were given and exposed to more opportunities than women. Domesticity and gender really and gender roles, were in full effect, with many people believing that women needed to be home to take care of the family and the house and the children, while a man was out working. So female education, it wasn't seen as a priority. There's a quote from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. They state, quote, "The primary role of a woman was to get married and have children. In that marriage, they were expected to cater to the needs of their house and their husbands. Women who had jobs were looked down upon," end quote. Really just, again, reflecting those societal structures. And the idea that little things that marked you as quote unquote different somehow meant that you were undeserving of education, and that just shouldn't be the case. Hopefully, I will say, as a woman who is currently in college, thank the gods that no one ever came after me and was like, wow, you going to college. Like, I was supported and I was loved, and it might be because of my my family and the people I surround myself with. I know it's not everybody's case, but I think that slowly, right, those inequalities, those societal structures that were so pertinent and so pertinent in in the past are hopefully changing for the better now as we're living as we're living today, and hopefully in the future. Thanks for letting me share. Bye.